How do you build a consistent pipeline of deals? If you want to buy a business, multiple businesses, you want to build a portfolio, these are the things that we're going to cover in this video. If you're a strategic buyer, a search fund, private equity group, anybody that wants to buy assets and maybe more than one company, then this is for you. And I see a lot of people making this mistake and not realizing how a correct pipeline of deals is built. And that's why I want to share my thoughts on that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marco Palmero. My company Ulysses acts as M&A partner for buyers or advisors that want to find deals. And one of the most common issues that I see is people not realizing that there has to be some continuity in your process of finding deal flow, because there are going to be different types of prospects that you reach out to. And if we want to call them prospects, the motivated sellers that you're going to be talking to are going to be at different stages of their decision-making process. And we want to make sure we have the right system in place to interact with them in the right way based on the stage they're at. So what's the common mistake people make? Well, they start reaching out to people independently of what channel they use for reaching out to them, brokers, off market, you name it. And after some time, they start to say, well, I already checked every possible deal that was available. I think I know every business owner that was interested in selling in this particular industry. So it looks like I've capped the amount of companies that I can find, right? Now, first of all, that depends on the type of industry you're in. If you're a very narrow industry, that might be the case and might happen very quickly. If you're in a very large industry, that might not happen ever, right? If you're buying companies in healthcare industry across the United States, it might take you a long time before you connect with anybody, unless you have very specific filters in terms of revenue and size. But let's just assume that you get at the end of that process and you start to say, well, I already connected with all the folks that are interested in selling. What should I do now? Should I connect with them again? Maybe some of the deals that didn't close or some of the deals that didn't move forward, and try to reestablish a connection. Certainly, that is one thing that you can do and you should be doing. But the most important switch that a lot of folks need to make, especially people that maybe just started out, is understanding that different business owners are going to be at different stages of their decision-making process. Now, a lot of them are not even going to be interested in entertaining a sale, period. And we just need to be accepting of that. Not a lot of business owners in any given market might be interested in selling. That's just the reality of it. And so if you're expecting a certain amount of deals to come through you, first you need to ascertain how big is your niche and what's the probability that you're going to get that many opportunities out of these potential prospects. Because sometimes people have crazy expectations, and in some respects, some of them come to us and say, well, I want to get X amount of deals every single month, at least conversations with business owners interested in selling. And I say to them, well, first of all, have you considered how big is your niche? And secondly, do you know that we cannot really tell, how many people are going to be interested in selling a business without asking the market first? Some people have the process backwards, probably because they're thinking about sourcing deals as a straight marketing process. There are some elements of it that are similar to marketing, but we're not necessarily selling a product or service. Even if you're an advisor or broker, independently of what other folks might tell you, you're not really selling a product or service. And I can talk a lot about that, but we will touch that in another video. And therefore, we cannot have clear expectations. We could set kind of like benchmarks that we can use, but a lot of it depends on the size of the market and then testing. Now, all that being understood, there's also a huge portion of people that are buying assets that doesn't understand that they're not only super hot leads that they're interested in selling right now. And a lot of them, when they exhaust these types of prospects, they say, well, the market is finished. There's nobody else interested in selling the business. Well, no, cutie pie, is just that you have touched all the owners that already made the decision of selling and that were interested to move forward right away. That doesn't mean that there are other businesses that are thinking of it. Maybe they're heading towards the decision of selling, or they are considering it maybe the next year or something like that. And the problem is that if you are facing this issue, you're looking at things just from a very short-term perspective. It's like, well, I got all these prospects and motivated sellers that were interested to go and sell. Now I'm not getting these types of prospects anymore. Why is that? It means that the market is finished. No, it means that you tapped the kind of like top of the market, that is people that are already very aware of the decision they made. They already made the decision to some respect and they're ready to move forward. And so those are kind of like the easy part of the market, because you don't need to do any education. You don't need to explain to them what's going to happen. They just mature the decision. They know what they want to do. You just need to entertain a conversation, see whether or not the business is a fit, and that's it. That is a portion of the market, but especially today with increasing competition, is becoming less and less, because a lot of people do get these prospects right away. And so it's becoming more difficult to get in front of these, because again, a lot more people are competing for the same opportunities. What happens then? Well, there are other layers into the market that are not just interested, not interested. There's interested, then there might be, I'm starting to think about that, but I need more information. Then I thought of it, but I have X, Y, and Z doubt, or I'm thinking of it and I think I'm going to do it in 6 months, and many other reasons. I'm not listing them in any particular order. The point I'm getting at is there might be other layers of business owners that do have an initial interest in entertaining that proposition, but first they need further information, further nurturing, further clarification. And that's why a very organized deal flow pipeline is helpful and is enabling you to get tremendous results over time, because it enables you to get in front of these people initially when you reach out and get the low-hanging fruit, people that already made the decision, and you talk to them. And as you get other people that are part of this pyramid that I just explained to you, you funnel them into other systems where you can nurture them and prepare them for the decision. So I'm not talking about one of these bullshit newsletters that you get from brokers where they just share a bunch of ridiculous information that very few people ever read. I'm talking about really building a connection and being genuinely interested in how the business is progressing and how the decision is evolving, so that you can, one, add value to him and maybe guide him through some of the decisions or kind of like choices that he's making, but he doesn't have all the information. Some business owners have advisors that can help them with that, others don't. And so you as buyer can provide a lot of insights from that perspective, and to some respect also make him understand the type of buyer that you are. And so having these different funnels or cycles that you can build enables you to nurture different business owners based on where they're at in their decision-making process. And that is huge, because when this guy is going to make a decision, if he is ever going to make it, maybe he's not making it, then he's going to connect with you first, because you're the person who built the relationship in the first place. Instead of just, you can also be another random guy that reaches out, but it's going to be less likely for this person to connect with him, because he says, well, I can talk to this total stranger, or with this guy that messaged me 4 months ago and then kept messaging me and also answered some of my questions. He shared some materials on how he approaches acquisitions or how his company approaches acquisitions. I feel more confident in dealing with him because I have more info, I know him, and I understand his process much better. And so what we're doing is we're basically investing in future sales, if we want to call it this way. So it's like, instead of just focusing on the red hot part of the market that is the top of the pyramid, we're going downwards and focusing on people that are maybe less ready, but they might still be good prospects. And that's when the nurturing process comes in, and a very solidified deal flow pipeline delivers huge results. Because it's not enough to, again, just blast out a random newsletter or make a call asking, well, are you now interested? That kind of like kills the whole purpose, and it doesn't really enable you to get an advantage compared to other people, because anybody is doing that. Anybody is capable of doing that. But if you want sustainable deal flow and you just don't want to compete with these red hot prospects that are ready to go, because that's just a very tiny portion of the market, then it becomes a question of how do you structure your deal flow pipeline so that you can nurture other folks and then get them, and steal them from the competition. In some instance, some of these deals might also be significantly better because some folks might not have the urgency of selling, so their business might be very good, might be in a very good shape. They're thinking about retirement, maybe doing something else, but they want to make sure that's the right decision, and that's totally fair. As you build a relationship with them and nurture the process, then they say, okay, this appears to be the right guy to pass my business on to. And so I feel that's one of the approaches that we take when we build pipelines, is like, how do we create cycles that fulfill short, medium, and long-term objectives? And how do we make people understand that these are actually the, what moves the needle in sourcing more deals? Most folks just focus on opportunities that are ready to go, and they feel that's the only thing they need to do. And that's why they're not getting as much deals that they want, or maybe they're even starving. If you are an advisor or somebody that is doing deals and has an inconsistent process, that's probably you. Because again, even referrals, most cases, the referrals that you get or references are coming from folks or your peers and people that you know, but the deals are going to be ready to go. So again, people that already made the decision, are already committed, low-hanging fruits. That's totally fine. I'm not saying you don't take these opportunities. That's of course much easier. It's almost like saying somebody comes to me and says, Marco, I want you to take care of my deal origination process. I'm ready to go. I understand the value that you bring. Let's rock and roll. Of course, I'm going to help him. But there are also going to be other people that come to me and say, well, I'm thinking about outsourcing the deal flow process because I see that there's value that you can add, and then I can focus more of my team's time on closing deals, but I need to understand a few things because I'm unsure about how you're going to handle outreach, how you're going to manage our positioning, our brand, and how you're going to introduce us, how you're going to hand over the deals. Those are all fair questions, and those are just two different types of prospects in my case. But the same thing applies to deal flow, and that's why we want to segment prospects and have a process that nurtures all of them so that we can get as many deals as possible over time. So if that makes sense, there might be a few slots available to work with us. You're going to need to check the link below. Generally, we're booked up and we don't take too many engagements at once, generally not more than 10 clients at a time, because again, everything that we do is very bespoke, but provided we have slots available, you need to talk with a team. You can check the link below. You can see how we can help you find more deal flow, close your next multi-million-dollar deal or your multiple multi-million-dollar deals, and build a pipeline that works so that you can focus all your time on closing. So check the link below. I'll speak in the next